Welcome to AI Decoded, the show where we demystify AI one episode at a time. And today we're going to be talking about AI's impact to retail. Things you buy online, things you buy in stores, a bunch of ways that AI impacts the retail market. We're really going to focus on online for a lot of this because that's where a lot of the impact is. And I want to start out with talking about a pretty interesting thing that we found as an article. Devin and I were reading a bunch of things on the internet and came across this thing called Binge Buster. It is a platform where you actually watch your Netflix shows by going to a virtual Blockbuster style store where you can pick up the boxes of your shows and movies, read the back, and get that nostalgic feel of the reality of it. Devin, how does something like that make you feel, this being kind of a intermediary between digital and reality and the feel of things the way they used to be?
Well, and I think the interesting part isn't necessarily just the Binge Buster specifically, but the broader idea of it. And this isn't fully AI related, but we're looking at the two different tracks that online retail is going down. One of them AI, which we'll bring up in a second. And what's interesting to me is the implications of this. And I don't think this is a dystopian world where we never leave our houses and we all live in the metaverse. But more the implication that, maybe one day you want to go shopping at your favorite store in Dallas, but you're in New York or somewhere else, and you can pop on your smart glasses and go into the shop and try something on, order it, and now it's at your door 2 or 3 days later. And so this has a lot of wide-ranging implications, not just for big box stores, but for small businesses as well. It opens up a broader category of consumers that you just couldn't get before if they couldn't physically walk into your store. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity here as this technology progresses. And this is just a micro example of what these capabilities are.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It's kind of like the digital meets analog world of this isn't necessarily a retail experience, but watching shows, which is very, very tangible for us. We have shows we like to binge watch. I think it's a really cool example of that. And to give another example of kind of the other path that we see appearing is ChatGPT. They had this thing they tried to launch that would go buy products for you online. They reversed course on that pretty quickly. Google has a buy for me feature. They're trying to get AI to be able to make these online purchases for you without you having to go to the website even, much less the store itself. And then just use their platform to make purchases for you, maybe buy it at a lower price if it sees it on a different site, or buy it at the lowest price it can find it over a certain amount of time. Is that something you'd see yourself using? What do you think of that path there, Devin?
So personally, that's not something that I would be using.
Yeah.
I still enjoy traditional in-store experience.
Yeah.
And then going online and just finding what I need. But I do think it will become more ubiquitous. I mean, the point you made is that they rolled it back, but they didn't roll it back because of lack of adoption or because the technology wasn't being used or they just don't see a future for it. They rolled it back due to some issues with cataloging and syncing things up with stores and technical issues. And so the broader trend is that this is becoming more and more ubiquitous and is rolling out more and more across platforms rather than just pulling back entirely as a technology.
Yeah, it really feels like it's coming. It's just not there yet, right? Like you said, they didn't roll it back for technical, for nobody uses it reasons, but technical reasons that it had to comply with certain things and list things certain ways. But things that bridges we haven't crossed yet in that industry.
And these are the two tracks that we're going to be discussing throughout this episode. The digital experience, the in-world experience that's being developed, and then the AI, the non-human experience that's being developed, which are two of the kind of the biggest things shaping modern-day retail and modern-day e-commerce. And so after our break, we're going to have our first ever guest. His name is Adil Villani. He's actually a close personal friend of mine who I've known for a long while, who works in online e-commerce, helping small businesses and small to medium-sized companies to build out their presence and understand and navigate this new technology, and has done so for over a decade. He's worked for Emirates Airlines in their marketing department, their digital marketing departments. He's worked for market research for Samsung and Honda and other major retailers. And he's here to share what his views and his thoughts about the changing landscape of online e-commerce are, especially as they relate to AI.
Yeah. So when we come back from the break, we'll have Adil with us and continue talking about this.
All right, welcome everybody back to AI Decoded. We have our first guest, as we mentioned before the break, Adil Villani. Adil, can you go ahead and give an introduction of yourself? What does you do and why should people care?
Thanks, Devin. Yes, hi. As Devin and Curtis mentioned, my name is Adele, and I'm the founder of an agency called Accelerate. So think about it as two words: excel and celebrate. Accelerate, and we focus on e-commerce growth, starting from launching to scaling e-commerce. And what we do is we consult with brands, helping them create better online shopping experiences. Ultimately, our goal is to help turn more visitors into customers. And so we focus on areas like user experience, conversion optimization, essentially to increase sales and opt in into your email marketing, um, your email funnels. And we also, as I mentioned, we focus on strategy and aspects of AI, which are coming into the forefront now.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're coming into the forefront now, and yeah, how are you seeing the industry kind of change around how we handle AI in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, good question. So, the traditional view, and it's interesting to say traditional when we talk about e-commerce, but in the traditional sense of e-commerce, your storefront or your website was your store. Now that we're coming into the realm of agentic commerce,
Mhm.
your storefront is just one interface into your product catalog. And we'll talk more about the product catalog because I think when a lot of business owners who want to sell online think of an e-commerce store, they think of the homepage, they think of the website, but the product catalog is the almost the crux of everything now going forward. So let's take a look at an example of Walmart. Everyone knows Walmart, right? So they're not assuming the future customer starts at walmart.com. They've actually built their own AI shopping experience. If you've heard of it, it's called Sparky AI. And so basically, you can use Sparky AI to do your shopping via an app. And essentially, if you're using that app, you're not really even visiting Walmart.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but they're also making their commerce infrastructure available where the customer might eventually be shopping through Google's Gemini or ChatGPT, as you mentioned. Okay, so yes, of course, most brands don't have the resources that Walmart has, but the lesson here is that you need to build your own. You not necessarily that you need to build your own AI agent, but you need to be able to build your product catalog in a way that other people's agents can plug into it.
Yeah, yeah, and so one of the things that we saw was like Amazon actually having some contention with Perplexity about Perplexity's agent buying off of Amazon. Their site is built and structured to be able to do that, but Amazon kind of wanted control of it. I mean, so when we're building these sites and we're assuming that public AI is going to come look at the site and help us browse the products, like you're saying in the product catalog. What kind of like it's going to be read by machines. These sites are going to be geared for AI, not people, right?
Yeah. So up to now, and I think if you ask an e-commerce store owner, a website owner, primarily they're going to be thinking about human visitors.
Yeah.
Who's coming to my website, and what are they doing? What's the journey like when they arrive and wherever they arrive? And that assumption is starting to change. Although probably AI is very well ahead of the typical business at the moment, but that assumption is starting to change. And if you are a business owner in the e-commerce space, whether you're hybrid or full e-commerce, that's something you want to start thinking about right now as well. An increasing portion of product discovery will be performed, and research about products will be performed by AI assistants and agents on behalf of humans. We're already doing that. When we go into ChatGPT, we ask about a product, we ask about a company, we ask about a brand. Maybe we'll even ask for reviews or what people are saying. and your favorite AI model will serve up the answer there. And so, those are things that brands e-commerce brands really need to start thinking about. So the question is not really, does my website work for customers anymore? It's also, can machines accurately understand what I sell?
And so, Curtis, either you or Adil, I think, would be great for answering this question. But what does this mean from the consumer side? Is this an iterative process where, I want to buy a new pair of running shoes and then it presents you 15 options and then you click buy? Is this, I need a new pair of running shoes and then you need a long prompt detailing exactly what you want in it? What does the consumer see right now when they use these tools?
Yeah, so I'll start with that one. I mean, having done some of this, so just to call back to what we talked about in the news articles, I'm one of those people that would probably never have my AI purchase something for me. I live in AI every day, but I'm not that person. But I do almost all of my shopping online. So, the reasoning behind that, I do a lot of my product research with AI, but I'll go make the purchase, in hand. So I think that, in the future, the way that they're demonstrating these things, their end goal is really, hey, I want to buy tickets to this concert, or hey, I like these particular jeans. Go buy them for me, or find the lowest price on the day that it's priced that way and purchase it. That's kind of how they're placing it in front of us. But I know that a lot of people already do their product research on there. And, Adil, we were talking about the things for websites and e-commerce that allow that to be the case. Is that from your end kind of what you're seeing be the push on people that are already doing it?
Yeah, I mean, we have generational gaps. Obviously, older generations are still probably going to be shopping somewhat in store. A lot of them are shopping online, of course. And then we have younger generations who have, essentially grown up with technology, um, in the sense of, being digital. And so probably there's going to be an assumption there that they will be more open to having their shopping even automated through through AI agents, and or just making the purchase through using AI, using their voice, for example. So, essentially, the question is no longer, does my website work for customers? Can machines actually understand what I sell, as I mentioned before? And you need to now, as a business owner, you need to think about two different audiences. So, human visitors who need clarity, trust, they need usability, they still need the aesthetic. You still need to have that kind of first impression for a customer or a visitor to your website. And you need that persuasion in terms of moving a customer through or a visitor through the journey. But AI visitors, work a little bit differently. Not necessarily in conflict to a human visitor, but they work differently because they need structured and explicit and reliable information. When an AI bot goes to your website, the first thing it's trying to do is understand what your website is, what your product is, and how to navigate through that. So, they're not necessarily in conflict with each other because that's what a human also does, kind of through that user experience. So you need to start thinking in a way, as a business owner of an e-commerce brand, about having good information architecture. So the goal isn't to design an ugly website for bots. It's really to build a store that communicates effectively to both humans and bots.
So, Adele, since you live in this world every day, based on kind of your interaction with clients or potential clients, and then just what you're seeing, how many stores are actually ready for this? What is the current availability for people who want to go shopping with AI right now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I guess it can be largely anecdotal here because you will probably have several camps. Obviously, the first camp is still people who have had success, or business owners who have had success in the non-AI era, the pre-AI era, I should say. They may have a little bit of difficulty with the adaptation because it's basically wrapping your head around the idea that having a pretty storefront, and ticking all the boxes in terms of having great product photos and imagery and all that. Um, wrapping your head around that that's not enough anymore. Your product, your all of your products in your store are not just products. They are data. It's a layer of data. And that layer of data has to be informative enough for bots to be able to work with that data and allow people, or bots rather, to shop and to produce answers to humans. At the end of the day, there's still a human behind the AI. The AI is doing a service in a way for the human. So, yeah, basically, um, store owners really need to think about how to structure their products, what information to surround their products with. We call it metadata. Maybe Curtis can can translate that for the layperson, but essentially, the more informative your product layer is for bots, the more useful information it can come back to the human.
Yeah, yeah, and it even comes down to brand identity and all those other things that a store really works for. I know as an e-commerce, building e-commerce sites, you spend a lot of time with customers who have a vision for their, their brand identity and what they're saying about their products. And for all that stuff to be consistent when an AI is reading it, you spoke of metadata, and that's really just data in a place that isn't necessarily visible on the surface. So that's data all behind the scenes that the users never really see that set that up to be accurate and correct for AI instruction. So
Gotcha. And I guess a final question before we move into our next break, Adele. What do you see as being the timeline for all of this to roll out? We talked in the news that there have been some rollbacks with ChatGPT and other platforms on their agentic shopping capabilities, but that a lot of this was just um, early movers advantage, things being too early, I guess, in the broader ecosystem of e-commerce stores not being ready for these. But what do you see as being the timeline for this actually rolling out on a mass level? Or do you have any idea behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the sooner the better is the timeline. Because there's nothing that's stopping businesses right now from having a good evaluation of their current store and where the gaps are in terms of um, serving both human visitors and bot visitors, as well as building out that product data layer that we've talked about. Um, it's anybody's guess how soon it'll be. I'm gonna say it's more when than it's more a matter of that it's going to eventually come into play. So just to give you a little perspective here, Shopify, most people know Shopify as an e-commerce platform. So if you want to build a store, you can build one on Shopify and get up and running real quickly. But Shopify is gradually becoming, I should even say rapidly becoming much more than that. It's becoming a marketplace. So all of the stores that are, you know, um, plugged into Shopify, if you're a Shopify store owner, your products can be visible in the Shopify marketplace. And so, I can almost imagine in the near future where an AI platform like OpenAI, ChatGPT, is interacting with Shopify's shop marketplace and not just your store. So people might actually buy your products without even visiting your website.
So what you're saying is that since it's guaranteed to happen, it's best for businesses to get ready for this as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time to do an evaluation of what your store is doing now and where the gaps are. We've already seen disruptions with AI in other sectors, obviously. And if people could, if hindsight, was a thing that people could go back and, make changes, I'm sure they would. So here there is a bit of a window here to adjust because in this case of shopping online, um, the shopper hasn't really caught up to the rapid advancements that are happening with AI, and so there is a bit of a window here. So just imagine if you've been hearing about jobs being replaced by AI, and you could go back and say how could I have been better prepared for that? This is that kind of window right now for e-commerce brands. They don't have to think about how could I have been better prepared. What do I need to do right now so that I'm better as prepared as it can be for that inevitable future?
Gotcha. All right, well, stick with us until after the break, and Adil and we will be discussing what you as a business owner and as a consumer can do to get ready for this change in technology.
Welcome back to AI Decoded. We've been having a discussion with an e-commerce expert, Adil, myself, and Devin, about the inevitability of AI in your e-commerce experience and your buying online experience. And we're kind of at the stage in that conversation where we're talking about what can be done about it. So I'm just gonna ask you, Adil, like, what are the things if I owned an e-commerce store operating a website on Shopify or some other thing? What do I need to be doing today to start participating in that?
Yes. Good. Yeah. Good question. So, you know, um, the most basic thing business owners need to do is they need to start thinking like the consumer today.
Mhm.
The consumer today is not even the same as the consumer 3 years ago. Um, also, I'm going to say that as a business owner, it's very easy to become attached to your website because your website is something that you feel is yours. But there's much more outside of your website about your brand than on your website. This is, for example, what people are saying about your brand, reviews, um, people sharing links uh, to your website, communities. What are people saying? And marketplaces that we talked about with Shopify. So all of that context is important because for people to even shop or bots to shop, you need to you need to be recommended. You need to show up. If you're not even being recommended, if you're not coming up in in AI or Google search results, then with this current environment of AI, you might not be found at all. We lived in an era where with SEO, you did a search in Google and you would get search results. It was kind of like a big wall with a list of results, and you could kind of go through that. And in this AI world, you're just chatting with a bot, and it's giving you answers. And so we're in an era where if you're only focused on your website or primarily focused on your website, you may have a low yield in terms of the effort that you put in because you may not get any visitors for all the effort that you do.
And so, what is the difference for business owners, some of who may be familiar with SEO or may even have been working with SEO experts prior to this? What are the differences for getting mentioned in LLMs like Anthropic's Claude or like OpenAI's ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole plethora of things, which we probably can't get into all of them here. Um, so I'm going to just focus on the key, the core ones. Like in the traditional SEO sense, the question that we would ask is, can a search engine find and rank this page of my website, right? So let's say, for example, you're a furniture store, and can people find my dining tables category or collection on Google? That was the traditional, scope of SEO. With AI, discovery changes. It asks another question, can an agent understand and recommend this product? So it goes much deeper than what Google might have done, because Google will serve up several answers in the traditional SEO sense. And in the AI discovery era, people are really just going to get maybe one or two or three um, possible recommendations. And if you're not doing what needs to be done, then you're probably not going to show up for that. So think of also, ranking for a broad keyword and being selected for a specific customer need. Those are different problems. In the SEO world, we would try to rank for a keyword or a key term, and within the AI world, your your product is being, or your brand is being presented as a specific solution to a specific problem, or an answer to a specific question that a consumer has. Okay, so AI shopping is highly contextual, and you're going to have different results per user. So it is a lot more difficult, let's say, a lot more complex um, to focus on AI than what the traditional SEO look like. Um, so essentially, what merchants need to do is they need to become better at communicating why a particular product is the right choice.
Gotcha. Now, Curtis, maybe you can answer this. What about from the consumer angle?
Yeah,
What about for
so
people who have like security concerns or other things like that?
yeah, so to cover that base, when we had some previous discussions about can you trust AI, right? So as always, when you're doing shopping with AI, you have to validate if it's high risk, or it's a hard thing to validate. You have to go read the product page yourself. You just have to double check before you actually order the thing. And we are kind of in this in between where the AI can't order it for us yet. This will be even more important when the AI can order it for us. But ultimately, you're still responsible for that transaction when you purchase something from a store. So when you're trying to make purchases, do your research, but make sure you read up on the research you're getting out. And you have to remember also, kind of like what Adil was saying a minute ago, when you would do that same search with Google, you would get 1,000 pages of results, and then you could just pick through, and it might be on the second or third page that you find the thing you actually want, or the best version, or the right color, or whatever that might be. With AI, it's not going to present you that many choices. It's going to limit its output to something that the AI provider thinks is a good enough amount of words. So you may get three, you may get two, sometimes you may get one, and you're just going to have to continue to keep asking it if it's not quite right, and just make sure that the product that you're narrowing down on is actually what you're looking for before you move to making that purchase.
Yeah, and I think Curtis, you hit on the most important thing here, which is what we've said all throughout the previous episodes of the show, which is that AI doesn't abstract the human completely from
Yeah.
it. And even when it is capable of abstracting the human completely, you still need to do your due diligence. So it's even if you're planning on doing all of your shopping through agentic commerce, it still behooves you to go through and check things like return policies, check sizing, check and make sure that things are in stock, or check and make sure that the reviews for this company don't mention issues that might be specific to your case, such as like if you're buying shoes, the specific sizes typically running smaller, typically running large. So there's a lot of stuff that when we're shopping as humans, we try to kind of factor in, but the bot doesn't know this necessarily, and that may change as we go on and more information about brands and companies is learned. To your point, Adil, about communication from the brands, but until we get there, I think it really is important to just always remember that anytime you're doing anything with AI, always check your work, always check what you're buying, always check who you're buying it from, and don't ever fully outsource all of your thinking and all of your doing into the AI.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Never outsource your complete thought chain to an LLM. That is never going to be a good idea, but it can definitely be helpful when doing research on products and lining up what you want to purchase, especially if those businesses are doing some of the things that you were talking about, Adil, and getting their metadata right, getting the way they're talking about their products and brands right, making sure they're understanding reviews and reputation. All of that really does help to give good information to AI, and that's what makes it useful for us as consumers to go do our product research with.
All right, Adil, thank you so much for your time. Can you let people know where to find you if anyone has any follow up questions?
Yes, you're welcome, and thanks for having me on as your first ever guest. Yeah, basically, if anybody is interested to reach out connect with me, just hop on over to accelerate.co and you can find more information about us there. Okay, I'll just spell it for everybody. It's Excel, like the word EXCEL, and then EBRATE.co, accelerate.co.
All right. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you all next week to join Curtis and I for another episode of AI Decoded.